Good turnaround Tuesday, everybody. How's everyone doing today? Richard, Alexander, hi, Brock. Okay, let's take a look around. Yesterday, we did have a reversal day in energy. Hello, Hugo. So even though the market's in backwardation, it did have a reversal day. Look at what it's holding on the daily, the 9-day. 2-day off number today is 84.15. So we're about 20 pips underneath it to have a 2-day reversal. So it could be 83 is the pivot. Okay, so getting back under 83 would delay or be a detour to your higher. Yeah, okay, that's what I think. That's what I thought. Okay, so far, you know, we could have a failing rally. There could be some more left. EG made new lows, but diverging. Okay, so see what happens there. Yen's pushing up again. And S&Ps are making a new all-time high. Let's see. NASDAQ still hasn't done that. Its high was 15.7, I believe, 15.704. So it's 104 points away. And Facebook had good earnings, so maybe there's a chance for NASDAQ to get to the goal line too. A little pullback in gold and silver, hoping it continues. And it will continue if the yen's going to push to 116. So we'll see. But right now, this still could be A, B, C back down to here. So, but you see, it's like, okay, Ryan, good morning to you. How are you?
Dale? Yeah, good, mate. You?
How you doing? Euro pound new lows?
Yeah, lovely. Funny enough, I'm actually long at 05 because we got a barrier down there. That's been in play for a long while, but we've finally cracked this 84.20 level, which has been the short-term support, and yeah, just holding below at the moment.
Might be trying to turn. This might be an interesting thing to do on a turnaround Tuesday. You know, put on a small long and you know risk 30 pips and see if you could get a reversal day here.
Yeah, exactly. It's also coinciding with cable hitting the recent highs around 38.25, 30.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a fairly decent level. I mean, these barriers have been in play for a long while, as regulars in the chat room will know. And I like to play big figures and barriers if they're decent on a first attempt at least. I'm already out for. I've already got half off away for 10 pips, and I stopped at break even now on the rest of it. So yeah, we'll see if we get a little bounce back up. If it gets above 20, then potentially we got going to have legs to move on, as you say, maybe to 30 or 40 again. If we hold below 20, I'll be a little bit cautious that we're going to have a go at this barrier. Maybe
it's a good way to go into the ECB. I know I think you're doing an interview with Blake today. Maybe that's a low beta way of maybe, you know, kind of betting on a lower dollar.
Yeah, potentially. If I got some margin in the trade, I'll keep it. Otherwise, I may just look to fold it into the ECB. I don't want to be messing around in 10 pip ranges.
You're a little soft today, buddy. Quiet.
Am I? A little quiet? I don't know, turn myself up.
It's okay. You know, just letting you know.
Okay, how's that? A bit close to the mic?
Better, much better.
Cool.
So now that it's the volume's good, I'll move on to my trading warrior brother Stelios. What are you thinking, buddy?
Good morning.
Today? See, I didn't forget you.
Huh? You never forget me, man.
Yeah.
What do I think? Well, what did we say yesterday? We grind.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, we grind some more. It's yeah, you know, it's if you're a trader and you trade, you're a day trader, you try to trade both ways. It's difficult, but you know, I see nothing that's gonna steer us away from this path. We have some central bank action today. Not today. This week, we have ECB, Bank of Canada, Bank of Japan, I think. but really it's all about Canada and the ECB. And Canada, remember, they're going to be tapering, so we wait to see what they give us. And the ECB, I think they're a long way from doing anything, and they've said this on occasion, or actually no, repeatedly. And to be fair, inflation is going higher in the eurozone, of course, but not by such a huge margin as it is in other countries. So they kind of have some leeway, but I bet they're getting a little bit nervous. So for me, no change in anything really until next week with the Fed, because we know the Fed calls the shots, and they're usually the first to go and do something meaningful. I obviously would not put in the same category, you know, the RBNZ and smaller central banks, but I'm talking about the big ones. So we wait for that, and really I don't know what else to say or do.
Okay, that's, you know what, that's a lot of people have a hard time saying that still. I don't know what to do here, but you know, it's important you let go of your ego, and and know that it's okay not to know or trade. You know, a lot of people feel the pressure to trade, so you know.
I've said this so many times. I think I've said this here on Face as well. When I first started trading at Barclays, so a big bank, the guy who taught me, very senior guy, very, very good trader, he said two things to me which sounded completely alien to me at the beginning, but obviously I understood afterwards. One, he said that trading is probably one of the most difficult jobs in the world because you are hardwired as a human being to do the opposite of what you should be doing. So your immediate reaction when you're in the money in something is, oh, take the profits. And your immediate reaction when you're down on something is, oh, let it run. It's gonna turn around. He said you have to do the exact opposite. And the other thing he said to me is that one of the toughest things to do is to just sit on your hands and not touch the keyboard. So at some point you have to do that, and you have to do it for as long as you need. And I remember I had my best years in 2008, 2009, when the crisis hit. Unfortunately, the banks didn't pay very well those years. But anyway, that's a different story. But I had my best years there. And in 2010, when the market kind of started grinding then, and it was started, you know, we got over the big volatility of 2008 and a little bit of 2009. And I remember beginning of 2010, the first two or 3 months, I did nothing, literally nothing. I mean, I was like, I have no ideas. And I was lucky enough that I had a boss who understood. And I had a few good years, so I had the luxury of doing that. And then the market picked up the rest of the year, and I did well. But you have to know when to you pick your battles, and you only get into something when it's good and when it's based on your particular set of rules and strategy that you have. You have to wait, and
less is more.
It's I know a lot of people say that, and it's a cliche. Oh, you pick your battles, but you really have to. You really do.
Yeah, so, don't trade for the sake of trading.
Exactly.
Go to Vegas and or a casino and pull the one-arm bandit for entertainment.
Yeah.
So
just looking at the BOC quickly, without getting into the nitty-gritty of it, I think one reason the Bank of Canada could be important is because it may set the tone for other central banks. And what I'm looking for in that is how they're going to comment or pass, judgment on the potential that we're going to see a slowing economy into the latter part of the year. The Bank of Canada are out in front. They're mid-taper, talking about rate hikes next year. There's a lot in the mix, but it's how they're going to comment on this potential slowdown that we're going to see in the next quarter, Q4. If they brushed it under the table as part of the transitory and they expect it to pick up, then potentially that's going to set the signal for the rest of the central banks to do the same. If they're worried about it and there's any hint that they're going to, take their foot off the gas regarding tightening because of a potential slowdown, there could be some big waves going through the expectation of other banks. So this meeting, in my opinion, is not just, big for Canadian dollar and Canada. It has a potential to be big for the other central banks as well, and rate expectations and all things like that.
Okay, I wonder if Blake's around. How are you, buddy?
Hey, good morning. Ryan, I just heard what you said about what the Bank of Canada, and I agree with you because we are dealing with a potential of a slowing economy globally with obviously non-transitory inflation. So yeah, how's the Bank of Canada gonna deal with this? And that's going to have probably a pretty big impact. I didn't even notice until just now. Shy Girl's coming in today. Dale.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. She's great. Tracy's awesome. Anyway, that is, I think that's a great point. That's a really great point, Ryan, about the Bank of Canada this week. Obviously, and the Bank of Canada has also something else that they're wrangling with at the moment is which is been a net positive for the Canadian dollar, is this big rally in crude. And crude is, by the way, if you guys haven't seen it, and I had some comments about the euro sterling here, which I'll come back to, because I heard you commenting on that earlier. Gosh, it's hard to say at 5 o'clock in the morning. But here's crude, in this bullish channel, 161% extensions, almost reachable. It's at 86. And if you've been following along, our analysis on crude, at least in the ForexAnalytix community, while we're above this channel support, there's no reason to be bearish here. So every dip back down to 81 is finding buyers, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, a net positive for the Canadian dollar has been, this move higher in crude. So let me ask you this, Ryan or Stelios, do you guys think that, the stronger crude oil crude oil prices is going to have any influence on the Bank of Canada this week?
Potentially. It's something that all central banks factor in, because it's part of the inflation basket. It's also an earner for Canada
for them, well. For net for Canada, right?
Yeah. So it's good news. So they can largely offset it because it's good news for them, even though their own oil sort of lags behind in the price stakes. But yeah, I don't think it's as big a factor as it is for everyone else. Other central banks, Japan, they like to look at the price of crude because they're a huge importer, obviously. But they'll be more worried about inflation generally. And in fact, maybe it's looking at CAD in other pairs that might be beneficial to trading the BOC than just dollar CAD. I know it's saying that Cayman and a few of us have been looking in the chat room today to see if there's any opportunities. And I think if there's a decent dip in CAD and possibly versus the yen, that might be worth a fade, unless it's huge dovish news.
Sorry, I'm just. I think our YouTube stream is down right now.
Yeah,
I'm sending out a message. Hold on, just for everybody to join.
I just want to add, it depends on what the Bank of Canada think about oil. What do they think? Do they think this is transitory? Do they think energy prices are coming back down? That's going to obviously change the way they approach this monster rally of oil. Really, I mean, it's incredible. So yeah, I agree with you, Ryan. It will have an effect, but the question is, what do they think about it? How do they treat it? And I guess they're probably going to tell us, I think. So yeah.
In French, they'll tell us in French.
En français, yes.
Yeah. Oui.
Oui.
All right. Sorry about that. I just wanted to make sure I tweeted out about our YouTube being down. There was some comments that it might be, and I believe it is. I think we're having a difficult time getting logged in there. So sorry about that. I didn't mean to jump out of the conversation. It was just, when you start seeing comments, you have to about usability, you got to jump in there really fast. Hey, let me ask you this. No one's expecting the Bank of Canada obviously to well, actually, let me take a step back. So what do you think? Do you think there's going to be a timeline change from the Bank of Canada? Is it one of those situations, and by the way, if you're not aware, the BOC is tomorrow. It's not today, it's tomorrow. And I just want to say, technically, you know, we are trying to develop like a rounded bottom after a false break below 123. A lot of horizontal support. I'm not bullish, but I'm a little hesitant about being bearish ahead of the Bank of Canada, because I think a move back above 124.25 is going to, you know, get us scooting back up towards 126. That's what I think right now. I don't want to be too bearish in this. You know, I think we're in a pretty big range. And one of the other things I need to point out about the dollar Canadian is we haven't hit new lows as risk assets have hit new highs here in the US. So that's another kind of big divergence that you see in the FX market versus what's happening in US equities, which we're going to come back to US equities here in a minute. But as far as the dollar Canadian goes, I'm a little hesitant to be too terribly bearish right now. I think a break back below 123 post Bank of Canada will put us back down towards 120. I think that's the risk, is that we have a more hawkish BOC. But is that what we're looking at? Is more, you know, if the goalposts get moved up or get moved back following the Bank of Canada, is that going to be it? What do you guys think?
At the moment, a lot of the banks and the stuff I'm reading is that people are expecting them to be very cautious and to maybe rein in some of these rate expectations that we're seeing for them and all central banks. So, you know, the market knows that, again, like the Fed, like the Bank of England and all the others, tapers coming, rates will come. But the market right now is pretty much expecting the Bank of Canada to ease back on those and keep the market a bit more grounded. So therefore, I think the risk shifts that if they're not, and if they're fairly hawkish, CAD's going to fly, because, you know, the market's leaning one way, Bank of Canada does the opposite, and everyone's caught on the hop. So that's the growing risk at the moment. I think they'll be the pretty neutral, and when I say neutral, I mean they're going to continue their lines on the economy, on potential hikes, on the taper. I don't think they're going to step too far outside their recent comments. But, you know, it's all about expectations. And as I say, the market's looking for them to perhaps to be a little bit less hawkish than they might be.
Ronit says there's a pattern for the dollar Canadian to hit 113 to 104. I'll take the opposite of that. I'll just tell you right now.
Depends on the time frame.
I'm going to take the opposite of that. Sorry, I'll be on the other side of your trade.
I think
Justine says, do you think buy the rumor, sell the fact will happen in the Bank of Canada later? You know, the bank, you know, when you're dealing with the Canadian dollar, it is always tricky. It is always going to be really tricky. I always watch like Canadian news and following the Bank of Canada, and every time you think something's going to happen, for me, and this has just been maybe, you know, my 20 some odd years of trading the dollar CAD, is that when you think something's going to happen, by the end of the day, the opposite ends up happening. But, you know, that's why they call it the loonie, and that's why I just let the market dictate what's going to happen. And in this case, it's pretty simple for me as far as going into tomorrow. 124 to 123 or 124.20 to 123. This is our range. This is what we're dealing with. And really it's more of a, you know, breakout here, you're going to squeeze, and, you know, break down here, you're going to probably see this 122 level. So I'll just sit and wait and try not to get too cutesy here with trying to figure out what's going to happen. I'll let price dictate that. Now, one of the things I wanted to point out, because you know, Ryan, you were talking about the euro sterling, and you're like, well, you took a long here this morning, right at 84.05.
Yep.
And that's nice because you have a net core short position, right? Yeah. Gosh dang it. I wish I was European. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, I wish I was UKEN. No, I wish I wasn't in the US when it comes to FX trading, because we can't trade both sides of the same position. So we have to either be net long or net short. And that sucks. That's a real disadvantage to being a US FX trader. And those of us that are Americans and I believe Canadians too, if I'm not mistaken. But I'll speak specifically as an American. It really sucks because like there are so many times where, you know, like for example, I'm short the euro. I'm net short the euro from last week, you know, up here at 116.50. Like yesterday, I was like, okay, you know, we're at 118, we're at 115.90, and I'm like, you know, I'd love to. I covered up some short, but what I'd really like to do is just be, you know, just to picked up long some of my position, or I'd like to pick up long just for a bounce, and then get out of it and still have a core net short position that is not altered based on me, you know, subtracting some of my short, you know, covering up some of my short and re-adding, and then it makes my average lower after the fact, and then I treat my trade a little differently, you know, versus having like if I was core short at 118, it would be nice, you know, and then I could, you know, fiddle faddle with you know, near-term longs and bounces, you know, on different trades. I don't have the flexibility to do that as an American trader. So every time I hear stuff like that, like I know your core short the euro sterling, but then you got to buy it, you know, for a dip and play a complete, you know, separate position being on the long side right now. I'm so jealous. I meant to mention that this morning.
It won't happen often.
What's that?
It won't happen often, probably. You've been jealous.
Yeah. But hey, you know, I do want to say nice pickup this morning. And if you are looking at the euro sterling, we have 161% extension of this last move higher, 127% extension just below 183.92. So we would call that a confluence, right? So as you know, you reach new lows, new trend lows, but you see a divergent relative strength, I'd imagine we're going to bounce around here. But I mean, what you saw today might have been it. I mean, Ryan might have cherry picked like literally 2 pips off the lows there. So, so anyway, just a little FYI. And what else did I want to talk about? I wanted to talk about, there was something else that I was thinking about this morning. Stocks. And are you guys floored that we're at new all-time highs in the S&P?
No.
Stelios, what do you think?
Am I what about the all-time high in the S&P?
Did it just catch you off guard?
We got told off last week for saying it was going to happen.
Well, you know what? It's amazing. You know, stocks just continue to rally here, and the S&P is nearing that. Well, we're also 4,600 is almost here. 4625 is the inverted head and shoulder pattern completion. You know, we talked about this on the week ahead video that I was looking for a reversal up here at 4625. And we continue to grind up there, and it's really quite amazing to see this move unfold. I think there was a lot of people that were short equities over, you know, looking for failing rallies up here, you know, around the 4,500 level, looking for just a lower high. And I think a lot of people have been caught wrong-footed this last 2 weeks. I mean, I didn't expect personally. I'm not trading the S&P right now personally, but I did not expect us to hit new highs. I did think we were gonna like maybe be capped out here around these highs. I thought seasonality would play a little bit bigger role, you know, this month in October. So I'll be the first one to admit I'm surprised that we are trading at 4,600 or near 4,600 right now. As of last week, you know, obviously last week I was like, okay, now we're going to break out the highs. But going into last week, I was really surprised that this is completely played out. But you know, Stelios, you're right as far as, look, we're just grinding higher.
You just say you are right, full stop.
No, but but then again, you said silver's going to like $1,000 for the last 10 years. So,
Yeah, I know.
well, just kidding. And you might actually end up being right. But anyway, going back to what you're saying though, we grind higher here in the S&P, and that's just dragging volatility down, which is a bummer when we're trying to trade. I want volatility to be up at a 20 handle, and instead we're here at a 15 handle. But let's also not ignore the fact that volatility may be down here in the teens, but we have been lower, which, it's surprised. Are you guys quite surprised that volatility is holding up as well as it is in the current environment? And do you have any answers to why it is? I mean, I had answers back here in April of this year, but here we are in November of this year at the same prices, and my answer is not the same, and I don't have an answer for you now. So what do you guys think?
My view, I could be right, could be wrong. Pre-COVID, we were grinding higher exactly like we are now. Right. But there were no big underlying question marks. Like we have inflation now. We have COVID still, okay, it's relatively under control, but it's still also something that's ongoing, and you see flare-ups in countries and this and that. So I think that may be the reason why we're a little bit more elevated, because things are not as I don't want to say rosy, but they're not as relaxed as they were pre-COVID. It was it's a little bit different. But you know what?
Crap! I'm sorry. Did you see gold just take a Forex gal just mention it that it's moving? I'm sorry, Stella. I didn't mean to jump.
No worries. No
In
worries.
front of you. Just all of a sudden, the bottom just fell out of gold and silver. Here, hold on.
Good.
Yeah, they're giving it a shot again. It's
cool. Gold. First of all, there's gold, failing here at the 78% retracement. I was hoping we kind of get back up here. I'd have been a seller up here actually, because this is obviously the range high, but it's more of a big, trend line that I was looking
1830 to 1840.
Yeah,
I think is
somewhere around there.
Zone. Yeah.
But silver's been holding up really well, and I thought we'd break above 2480 to get, to play this, inverted head and shoulder pattern and continue to play out. But we're stopping shy of that, and problem that I'm seeing here in silver and gold now is just these lower highs. So, and that's giving the dollar a little bit of a boost. Take a look at the dollar rand. We're at the highs of the session right now. That's not something that you are expecting when stocks are at all-time highs. You don't expect the emerging market currencies like this to show some weakness. So I don't know. This looks like stops are just getting taken out. So going back to volatility, continue on still. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say this. It's a slightly different situation because we're after COVID and inflation is rising. So there's a bit more uncertainty, but stocks are grinding, and you see these earnings have been good overall. And you see big stocks like Tesla. I mean, do you see what happened yesterday because of that Hertz order? A company that went bankrupt a few months ago. Now they're making a huge order of, 100,000 Teslas or whatever it is. And it's, the markets are going ballistic. I mean, ballistic. What the market's pricing for Tesla in terms of domination in car manufacturing, car sales is incredible.
I was having this conversation yesterday on the daily roundup. Because on the daily roundup, it's just the ForexAnalytix subscribers, and we're having a conversation, and it's actually quite interesting to get everybody's viewpoints with our ForexAnalytix customers, where they're from, and how saturated is their market with Teslas. Like I live in North Scottsdale, which is like the auto. I mean, I can walk to my local McLaren dealership. It's just down the, I can actually walk to it from my house, so where I live is like the car mecca. I would assume it's something like living in Dubai, right? So I have, every Tesla 3s are like Toyota Corollas here, or, whatever a normal car would be. My kids' high school, I wouldn't say there's, so many kids in the senior class that actually drive Tesla 3s, so they're very common here, very common vehicles. So I see them everywhere. But it's interesting to hear other people tell me where they're from and how big and how vast Tesla how far they've gotten and where they're at, and places that they've even penetrated. Like Raj was talking about the Indian market where Tesla's at there, and it's really, you know, or Norway. Geert was jumping in there and saying that, you know, Teslas are very prevalent in Norway.
There's one thing though, global, in terms of global sales right now, they're less than 1%, and the market's pricing pretty much 50% within 10 years. That's a pretty big, because the Tesla market cap is more than the next, I think, 8 or 9 automotive,
all of them put together.
All of them put together. So that's a pretty big world domination, the market's pricing. And I kind of, you know, it's a big ask. I'll just
I agree with you. It is a big ask. I'm not, and I don't trade Tesla. I'm not sitting there going, oh, you know, well, it's going to do this or that.
I don't either.
It's just interesting to hear what other people's experiences are with the car manufacturer, especially as it's in the news and it's rallying. I mean,
there is a rumor, Stelio, that Daimler, BMW, Volkswagen Group, they're all going to just close shop and surrender. So it makes sense.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Anyway.
Wow, Steve pops out of nowhere. Good to see you, Steve. All right. Well, hey,
I want to listen to Tracy.
Tracy is here.
She's here.
Shy girl. And Tracy, I'm always excited to have her on. I had a nice one-on-one conversation with her a few weeks back. So I'm going to let you take over, Dale. But before I go,
she's my girlfriend.
Yeah, she is. Oh. And you know what? I'm gonna stand back and just admire. So I want to say, if you guys haven't tried out ForexAnalytix, make sure you do so. It's only $1 for 10 days to try it out. Also, make sure if you visit our sponsors, for Forest Park FX, they've been sponsoring this webinar for about 5 years now. If you don't get cashback rebates on your FX trading, you live in the US, you need to reach out to them, tell them that we sent you. They'll take really good care of you. Also, if you want to learn how to get ForexAnalytix for free through your trading, you can do that. And then also you could visit Pepperstone Securities, which is also one of our sponsors here. So guys, I'm going to let you take over.
Okay, Blake.
Dale, thanks everybody. Brian, Stelios,
Forest
Steve.
Park, if your broker can't see the forest from the trees, call Forest Park and it will be a picnic.
Okay. Cheers, guys.
All right.
Love it, Dale. See you guys. I'll see you guys on the morning edge in about 45 minutes. Those of you that are ForexAnalytix subscribers. Thanks, everyone.
And those who aren't should become today subscribers. Tracy.
Hey.
Hi, girl. Welcome back, Tracy. How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
We're doing okay. So I guess I'll be doing some screen sharing here, and it's great to have you. You know, I remember when you flipped to being a bull in energy, and that was a great call. I just want to ask you, is there a chance, just a chance, that we're getting fully valued here, or do you think the guys are going to be right about $100 oil by year end?
I think that's going to really depend on a lot of things. I think, well, first of all, you know, OPEC doesn't really have that much spare capacity, and they've already said that they're not going to change what they're doing, right? So they're not looking to add any more into the market. The US market, you know, everybody's focused on capital discipline, dividends to shareholders, paying down debts. So they're not really looking to produce more. So, you know, I thought we would be a little bit more range bound, but that was before the energy crisis happened in Europe. So, you know, it is very possible that we could push over 90 this winter if, you know, if it gets really cold, because we'll see that would push US nat gas stocks into deficit. And then you'll see a lot of gas to oil switching. So it is very possible that, you know, I mean, this chart is very constructively bullish.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's really, look at this. This was the Twilight Zone episode.
Right.
So, you know, people became scarred when we went negative, and not many people down here calling for this kind of move. But
you know, we keep
turned positive here, Tracy. That was, you know, late last year. It was a great call.
And if
Let me
if
ask
you
you
look, I
this.
mean, we keep working off bullish, like overbought conditions, right?
Yeah.
So it's still, it's still
Yeah, the
constructively
trend
bullish.
is up, and most surprises would be to the upside. Let me ask you this. I always feel like I could count on politicians to do the wrong thing at the wrong time. Do you think there'll be a release from the SPR? You think Biden will do that?
It's always a tricky thing because with a SPR release, I mean, we already have releases set, right? So through 2023, 24 to pay for the repairs on the SPR. But the tricky thing about just releasing it for the sake of releasing it is that it has to be the type that oil companies need. So, just flooding the market is not necessarily the appropriate response.
Well, but it would have some like a 2-day effect or something,
Right.
right? I mean, it's not going to change the fundamentals. And let me ask you, because natural gas corrected a little bit, and now it looks like it wants to push to new highs. Is this whole energy crisis thing that's right now worse in Europe than here? It's something that we're going to have to live through. You think there'll be some kind of rationing, or prices are going to go up, and
I mean,
consumers?
I definitely think that we'll see higher nat gas prices, US nat gas prices.
Yeah.
That said, I don't think that we'll experience what Europe has experienced. I think it's going to be more regional, right?
Okay.
So like, it's going to be more expensive in the Northeast because they just stopped that pipeline. So I think you're going to
Okay.
see different, I think it's because the US is so big. I think you're going to have regional pockets that probably get squeezed a lot more than others. But I don't think it's going to be like a national crisis like it is in many of the countries we're seeing in Europe right now.
Okay, so I know that agricultural traders pay attention to El Nino, La Nina,
Right.
and we're having, it looks like they're forecasting another La Nina year, which usually means I don't know what it means in the winter. In the summer, it usually means drought conditions in the bread basket. A lot of grain
Yeah, it's supposed to
traders.
bring colder conditions. In fact, it's already affecting China right now. They're sort of got their winter 2 weeks early.
Okay. China's involvement in this bull market, what is it?
So,
Besides, go ahead.
China's really interesting because they're also having their own energy crisis. And usually they usually are buying and storing when everybody else is using.
Yeah.
And actually this fall, we've actually seen them draw down, which is
Okay.
very highly unusual for them. So that means they're having their own energy crunch. And then just yesterday, they upped their quotas for their teapots. So they're going to be importing about 88 million barrels by the end of the year. So that's very bullish in general for crude oil, obviously.
Okay. So where do they buy? I know they go to world markets, but any country that's not friendly to the US, China makes friends with. So do they have a lot of are they keeping Iran going by buying Iranian oil, and does that kind of go ahead?
Yeah, well, they buy Iranian oil on the gray market, right?
Okay, that's a gray market.
And then they buy
Like
from
my hair.
Venezuela as well, but they don't admit they're buying from Venezuela. It
Yeah.
actually goes to Malaysia first, and then they buy it as bitumen, but it's really Venezuelan oil.
Okay. All right. So China coming in, and their needs, they've stockpiled almost every commodity over the last couple of years. Grains, was oil one that they didn't really go heavily into stockpiling, and that's why they have to go back out there and have this type of demand on the world market.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we've anything else in the energy patch that you want to talk about? that we
So-
should go ahead?
Actually, everybody's talking about uranium.
Oh yeah,
So
Yeah.
I actually jumped on a uranium trade. I'm long UROY, UROY. What's interesting is we've seen in Germany, they just decided to keep nuclear plants online longer after all. France is pushing really hard to classify nuclear power green and sustainable for the rest of Europe. The UK just funded a new huge power station. Ursula, president of the EU Commission, just
Yeah.
addressed this issue, and she said they needed to include nuclear, which was brand new. And
well,
we're
it's
also,
clean. It's clean. Doesn't have much of a carbon footprint, does it?
yeah, I mean, the argument in Europe, and this is why the environmentalists hate it
Is
so
this
much.
the right issue, Trace, that you just bought?
Roy, no, UROY, UROY.
Oh, why? All right.
OY.
All right. Let me try.
Um,
All right.
So the reason that they don't like it in the EU is because
Oh,
they're worried about the environmental impacts of the waste, the radioactive waste, right? So
Right.
that's generally their that's their argument.
Wow.
So that's it.
Yeah, I know. I've interviewed guys over the last couple of years that were really, talk about uranium being
So
embryonic.
yeah, I
and-
mean, you have to be very, very careful with it. I mean, we've been burned. I kind of got in on that dip in early October where it kind of
Nice.
was making that flag, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I got in
yeah.
about there, but I definitely think the trade has room to run. So, I think it's viable on some pullbacks.
Okay. Interesting that you're, I appreciate you filling us in on that. I know you're also, I should set up a menu, and I know you're a gold bull too, and that this is your stock, right?
Yes, miners.
See how I keep
miners are
track of
doing.
everything you're
Miners are
doing.
so lagging; they're terrible. So yes,
I
GFI
don't
is
know.
my miner, and I'm hanging in. I'm hanging in.
Any reason why, most of their mines are in South Africa? Any reason why you went with a miner that has, political, they all have political risk.
Yeah,
But
they all
any
have.
reason why South African? You went with a South African?
Just because
Any-
there's a lot of interest there.
Yeah. It's a liquid stock, and
Exactly. So yes,
Okay.
that's my lagging miner.
okay. Well, you know what? I'd buy a pullback under 9 now. I think it finally. I know what you're talking about with the miners, that they
Like it's
they
trying to
were
break out
lagging
there.
bullion. Yeah, they've been lagging bullion dramatically, and bullion's down, but this may have been the low. So still positive on gold, and does that carry through
So-
to?
Well, gold's really interesting right now. I mean, I have it at daily resistance. So, I mean, in order for it to, I mean, gold's kind of broken, right? I mean, it's a trading instrument. I think it's broken. So for me right now, I mean, to get in an actual gold trade, I would have to see a break above the high today, like a solid break. I want a close above.
I heard a guy say on CNBC, commodities analysts, that they were talking about how gold hasn't, with all the inflation news, really performed that well, and you say it's broken, and his case was that gold is more about debasement, and oil is a better inflation hedge.
Yeah, definitely. Oil is definitely a better inflation hedge. It has been for,
Ever.
the last year or so. So,
Yeah. Okay. So I know that you used to have a view on the dollar. I'm wondering what you're thinking here with the dollar.
I mean, we're still, kind of in that, we're kind of range bound right now, right? I
Yeah.
mean, we have been since July.
Yeah. This
So
little
I
area here.
I know they probably don't want, I mean, that could be a double bottom there. I don't know, but I don't think they really need or want the dollar to get that high. I mean, maybe 95, 96.
Okay. All right. Okay. And anything new at your company that you'd like to announce on the research that you're doing, or the format, or?
Nothing new. We got a new website, but
Oh, you do? Okay, let's take a look at it. Here we go. So here's Tracy's new website for hedge fund telemetry. Wow, nice. Okay. And here's the button to push to subscribe. And your partners, you mainly cover natural resources, and your partners cover other things. Thomas
yeah,
Thornton.
exactly. I cover materials and energy.
Okay. Hedge fund telemetry. Okay, so it's also a fund. And are you providing research or looking for retail traders, or is it mainly institutional?
Absolutely. We have retail traders and institutional in institutions. So there's something for everybody. Okay.
So, this could be, besides Twitter, I know a lot of people follow Tracy on Twitter. This could be an even better resource, because this is when she's really, she tweets about everything, but this, if you want to specifically look at what she's saying about oil at any particular time, or any of the other commodity markets that she covers, this would be the way to do it. Right, Trace?
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Well, anything you want to wrap it with market-wise, stocks, going into the fall, we had a little 5% pullback, and here we are. S&Ps have made new highs.
I know, crazy. Well, seasonally, this is kind of the melt up season, right?
Right, it is.
We'll have to see coming in November. We've got a lot of things going on in DC right now.
Okay.
So
yeah, the deal and
watch
and
about spending packages, things like that. I mean, I'm paying obviously very close attention to an infrastructure package, because that would be obviously very bullish for the materials sector.
Okay. And what about, do you think that we'll get through the debt ceiling limit that they just postponed for a couple of months in early December?
I feel like it's like drama every time, but they're not going to let the US default. It's just, they're not going to.
Okay. And I wanted to wrap it with, since you live up there, you have any view on the Canadian dollar?
The Canadian dollar is obviously, it's a commodity currency, it's an oil currency. So, it hasn't really done a ton.
Yeah.
But
looks like, we're putting in a higher low here at 61.8. And if crude corrects, you think there's a chance for 130 on USD CAD?
Possible. I mean,
just a recovery. Okay. So are you happy with Justin Trudeau being reelected? I know.
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. And we're actually getting commercials here in the US saying not to go the same way Canada went with prescription drugs.
Wow.
Ever have a problem getting any kind of prescriptions filled up there?
They're out of stuff a lot, but
Okay.
it's like national healthcare, right?
The stores are starting to, the supply chain thing is starting to put pressure on everything, including groceries now. Have you noticed that in Canada, that some of your items that are your favorites aren't there anymore?
I noticed it. Actually, we had a problem probably earlier this year, and it's getting a little bit better here.
Okay. All right. Well, Tracy, like always, I always enjoy talking to you. Thanks for your ideas. What should we be looking for going into year end? Pay attention to weather mainly.
Yeah, pay attention to weather. Look for this infrastructure bill, because if that passes, companies like X, CLF, CAT, will probably get nice boosts. Oil, obviously.
and we could talk about your new foray into a different commodity class. And I hope the trade works so well you're glowing, not from the radiation, but from the profits.
Let's see. If it's a tricky trade, I'm not going to lie.
All right. Thanks so much, my trading warrior sister, for hanging out and sharing your ideas with us, and always appreciate your giving spirit for, I know it wasn't easy to become good at what you do. So appreciate you giving it away to our community today, Trace.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure.
All right, there, Tracy at Shy Girl, everyone thank her. And here's someone that was bullish oil before it became popular. And she did one of the things that's the hardest thing to do, and that's to flip. And, having been a long-term bear, it's not easy once you have that paradigm to turn around and end up catching a big wave. So congratulations on that, Trace.
Well, thank you.
All right, so that's a wrap, everyone. Turnaround Tuesday. Good luck today, and we'll see you tomorrow. Get here early tomorrow because we have a new addition to our team that we're going to introduce you to, and you could see the guys on the Morning Edge in 25 minutes. Remember, don't just count your pips, count your blessings. Everyone have a great day, and adios, and thank you, Tracy, one more time. Adios.
Hey traders, this is Blake Morrow with ForexAnalytix. Thanks for stopping by our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like these videos, share them, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of the content that we provide here for free. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next video.